The next one.
Encourage, come on.
The next one is encourage your marriage. Hebrews 10:24, you know the scripture. It says, provoke one another into love and to good works. And there are different ways to encourage. I love to encourage Brian when he shares just how the Lord is moving in his heart and life and what I got from what he spoke. You know, we're very vulnerable. Those of you that teach, you know how vulnerable you feel, especially after doing this marriage one. We're going to feel so vulnerable. And you've given to the people all that you have, the precious things that God has shown you. And it's, you know, I love to encourage him and tell him how the Lord spoke. And there's so many times that he'll get down and just say, one of his most powerful sermons he did about 4 weeks ago on the providence of God, I sat there just going, this is like the greatest thing I've ever heard. The girl next to me was like, wow, I came here just for that. And we're like, I have a little cheering row. They're all like me. And we're all just like, oh, oh, oh. So we get in the car and he says, man, I just babbled. That was the worst thing I ever did. And I'm like, oh, babble on. That was like the greatest. Brian, God was so with you. He was so speaking through you. You don't even know. So I start telling him like how it ministered to me, how it ministered to my friend Kelly. And I like to take notes. And you know, my notes really help because we've gone places and all of a sudden he finds out he has to preach something and he's forgotten his notes. I just open my notebook and he preaches from my notebook and it works for him.
It works. It's good.
So,
but tell them how I encourage you.
I'm going to.
I'll tell them how. I'll tell them that side of the story.
My son Char got married a few years ago, and I took him aside. We went out before he got married, just a little mother-son time, just to give him a word for his marriage. And I said to him, I said, Char, there's something that your father has always done from the day I married him. And I said, it's kept me in this marriage through thick and thin. And I said, your dad, every day of our marriage, has told me two things, that I'm beautiful and he loves me. And I said, I know sometimes the first is definitely a lie. And I said, but there are times when I just think, you know, I've got this man so fooled. I can't fool anybody else ever again. And I said, because he has told me that and he loves me, I said, that's held me to this marriage and made me feel so secure. And I said to him, I want you to tell Grace every day how beautiful she is and that you love her. And he's so cute because every time I see him, he's like, Mom, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And it's so cute because, I mean, you just see, she just looks like a loved woman. I love my daughter-in-law. But she just looks like a loved woman. She has that look of a loved woman. And there's something about that. So, men, tell your wives you love them. And tell them that they're beautiful because they are. Was that good, Brian?
That was good. And I want to say, you know, sincerely, I call Cheryl, a lot of times I call her Abigail. Because remember Abigail, she comes to David when he's going to go slay Nabal because of his wickedness. And she gives him this great word of wisdom. And, you know, David says, God sent you to me, you know, to save me from, you know, what I was going to do. And, you know, sometimes I'll just refer to her in that way because she really is, she's really my greatest encourager. And like she said, I mean, you know, you guys know how it is. And ladies, you need to know this. The devil wants to discourage the ministry of the word. And one of the ways he attacks us is, you know, through the preaching, the teaching and all, you know, he will just so often come along and just try to discourage you in your mind, just to get you to think you're an idiot. You know, you might as well shut up. You didn't make any sense. Nobody understood anything you said. And, you know, I don't have a huge problem with that, but it seems like it comes in seasons, you know, and there are these times when it's just on you. And she's always there to encourage me. And, you know, she's also been very good about giving me constructive criticism. You know, when I was young, like a lot of young preachers do, you know, you use the phrase, you know, a lot. And I used to get up and, you know, every third word was, you know. And one day she goes, Brian, you know, we don't know. So just tell us, and then we will know, and quit saying, you know. And I thought, well, you know, that's good, because I don't like saying it either. And so I had to learn more words and increase my vocabulary. And, you know, sometimes I'll say a word wrong or something, and afterwards she'll tell me, no, that's not the way you say it, you know, and then we'll get in an argument. No, that I was right, you're wrong, and then inevitably she's right. So, but, you know, just great encouragement. And ladies, your husbands need to be encouraged. They need to, and it's okay to give constructive criticism. It's okay to say, you know, honey, I think you could do better if you did this. One of the things, you know, talking about our son, Char, and his wife, Grace. Grace and Cheryl are a lot alike, and they're, you know, Cheryl was an English major, and Grace is one of these girls that's read like 5,000 books, you know, and all of that. So, you know, she'll critique him in his pronunciation and his vocabulary and things like that. And I've seen, just over the couple of years they've been married, I've seen how much he's grown as a communicator just through her influence in his life. And it reminds me so much of Cheryl and I. I don't know if any of you guys read the little book I wrote on Essentials of Ministry. I think some of you have read it. But I had this whole chapter there where I talked about when Cheryl and I first met. You know, I was like, you know, I know this is a politically incorrect term, but I was retarded. You know, I couldn't even talk. And, you know, I remember when we sat down to read the Bible together, and she just, you know, there was such expression, and it was this thing. And then, you know, it came to my turn to read it. I was so embarrassed. It was like, you know, see Dick run, see Jane jump. You know, it was so pathetic. But over the years, she would just encourage me. And I remember one time, after, you know, I'd been preaching for a while, and I remember she came to me one time. She said, you know, like when you're preaching, you like have this outline, and how did you learn how to do that? And I said, well, I don't know. I guess the Lord taught me. And she goes, it's a perfect outline. You know, I studied English in college. That's a perfect outline. And that was so encouraging to me to know, wow, you know, I'm making progress. The Lord is teaching me. So, but she's a great encourager, and she's got a lot of wisdom too, and I really appreciate her wisdom. And she's always, you know, we go through struggles, and it's so funny because the days I want to quit, she doesn't want to quit. The day she wants to quit, I want to quit, or I don't want to quit. And then, you know,
like that.
Very rarely we both are on the edge where we want to jump off a cliff together, but inevitably we'll talk each other out of it, and we keep going. So, but encouragement is so important. You know, it's so important. And, you know, ladies, don't be afraid to encourage your husbands. It'll go a long ways.